Go to Zimbabwe, where the safety of Zimbabwean journalists seem to be hanging by the thread as new cases of harassment keep showing up. Political tensions continuing to rise ahead of the much-awaited 2023 general elections in the country. The latest assault of a female journalist over the weekend during a Citizens Coalition for Change meeting has raised more questions as to the possible threat of impending danger.
Journalist Ruvimbo was assaulted by the country's opposition party security details whilst on assignment to cover a political rally in Chinhoyi. Muchenje's assault comes barely a month after 4 journalists were left hanging or left injured after being assaulted by suspected ZANU-PF supporters while covering the opposition Triple C rally in Gokwe Kabuyuni. In May of this year, 2 journalists belonging to the AMH group were also manhandled by the police and were arrested during duty.
Now, despite several calls by scribes to have their concerns addressed by the government, their security has remained a big concern in the country. Journalists have been tortured, arrested, and intimidated while conducting their work. Now, joining us to speak on this issue is Perfect Mswathi Hlongwane, who's the Secretary General, Zimbabwe Union of Journalists. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right, good morning. What are you as a union doing to ensure that journalists in Zimbabwe are protected, especially now that the 2023 elections are fast approaching?
Thank you so much for that question. Let me quickly say congratulations to you for the smooth transfer of power there in Kenya with the new president, William Ruto. Congratulations are in order. So probably what we need to do is that we need to look at the first thing. And the first thing is to understand that when journalists are attacked and harassed, it is criminalizing the profession, and in contrast with the spirit and letter of the constitution of the country. Remember, any action pronouncement or any other law that goes against that constitution is, as they say, ultra vires. So these guarantees as provided and freedoms as provided in the Constitution need to be upheld by all. And what we're doing as a union is to make sure that we engage authorities on these disturbing development where we see journalists being harassed, journalists being attacked, and we're engaging stakeholders to agree on decriminalizing the profession as it were. Secondly, we're also looking or in the process of making sure that our members are clearly marked. As we are heading into 2023, it is important that they're marked. But you see, the fear also is that when they are marked, they become easy targets to what one would probably call violence mongers, people who want to met violence on journalists. So this is one of the things that we are doing. But again, we are also looking at ensuring that we train our members, we train our journalists to understand the issues around safety, issues around security, so that as we are heading into 2023, we don't see our members being harassed.
Oh, that's great work.
But when you look at all these efforts, they may be a nullity unless there is political will to deal with the problem.
All right, perfect. Thank you for explaining that very clearly. And we are broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. But thank you for the congratulatory wishes, because at the end of the day, win for Kenya is a win for us all. Now let's talk about penalties in this regard. Would you say that there have been penalties, from the police, from the government, and are there promises assuring the safety of journalists on duty as we approach the 2023 elections?
Well, as indicated earlier, that we're in the process of engaging the authorities to make sure that we have an understanding, a mutual understanding for that matter, with regards to decriminalizing the profession and decriminalizing the craft. So what we are doing now is we are engaging the government, we are engaging the police, and we hope that in our engagement, we are going to have a mutual understanding. We are going to agree that journalists must be allowed without any encumbrance to do their job, to practice without any challenge or fear that they will be attacked. You see, these attacks are mostly happening at political rallies.
Perfect.
And we think...
I'm also trying to find out what the actual situation is right now. What is the provision? Are there people who face the penalty when journalists are being attacked or assaulted? Are there people who, are probably brought before a court, made to face the law? Are there penalties for the attack of journalists? What's the current situation?
So at the moment, there is nothing like that. It hasn't happened, but these are the things that we are looking for. And that's why we're saying we are engaging authorities, we're engaging the police to make sure that those who perpetrate violence on journalists, they must be arrested and prosecuted, because we cannot condone violence. Journalists are not criminals. We are professionals and we must be treated as such. So we think that in our engagements, we are going to be encouraging that perpetrators must be arrested. At the moment, it is not happening.
All right. Let's also talk about, the different unions in Zimbabwe. Has there been any talks between the unions such as yours and also, the political parties to ensure that they understand that journalists are not criminals and, also ensure that these attacks do not continue to happen?
Yes, indeed. There have been engagements with political parties, but probably let me speak from the lenses of the Zimbabwe Union of Journalists. You see, we are a new executive and we are starting to engage political parties. I can assure you that in the next week or 2 weeks, we would have managed to speak to some of the political parties to ensure that they have an understanding that when we deploy journalists to cover their rallies, journalists must be allowed and be protected and continue to do their work without any fear.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for all that updates. We wish you all the best, and we'll certainly be following up with conversations as regards safety of journalists in Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much. Thank you.